to the MMA Fan Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Stu and Blake.
Bonjour et bienvenue au MMA Fan Show. Je m'appelle Blake Harrison et je me joins comme toujours Stuart. Oui! Croissant, fan.
Très bien, bonjour.
Merci beaucoup, monsieur, merci beaucoup.
I had no idea you was going to do that. I love that. Good effort, mate.
Mange two, Rodders, mange two, mate. I wonder how many people were like, oh man, is my NordVPN on or something? I feel like they put me in France. Or how many people were just deeply offended by my terrible French accent and pronunciation. Good
effort though, mate. Yeah. Good effort.
The fact that I threw croissant in there as well is quite, it's low-hanging fruit, isn't it?
Yeah,
yeah. Can we get cancelled for that?
I mean, it's very, very, very racist, Blake.
Right, okay. Well, if this is the last ever episode of the MMA Fan Show, we're going out. Au revoir. We've gone out with Le Bang. Je t'adore. Okay. What else did Lumiere say? Mad. It makes me think of that Flight of the Conchords song where he's doing loads of French. Have you heard that one?
No.
Oh, it's great. You've got to listen to it. If you haven't heard Flight of the Conchords, I can't remember what the song's doing. It's called, that's it, Vouvet un Fafa. I don't know what that means. I could have said something really rude. But it's them kind of speaking in French, but then realising they can't speak French. It's just like, où est la piscine? A splish blush. And then he's just being like, boeuf, jamon. Yeah, it's brilliant. Flight of the Conchords. There you go.
Fantastic. Well, look, let's just quickly shout out our sponsors before we get into it, because there's so much to talk about from the weekend. I'm so excited for this episode, mate. But I'm also excited to tell you that we have got a discount code for you, and that discount code is Sweet MMA. What does that do? That saves you pound notes. That saves you pound notes when you put your order in at Fat Candy. Head over to there. Go get stuck into the freeze-dried sweets. We know you've been supporting Fat Candy because we have feedback from them that the discount code's getting used. We love to hear that. And I'll tell you what you love to hear. You love to hear the Fat Candy jingle. Blake Harrison, go for it.
Goss bonbon! That is Fat Candy in French, people. I just looked it up while you were talking. Goss bonbon!
Oh, yes. Oh, fantastic. Good effort, mate. Good effort. Head over to Fat Candy. Give him a follow on TikTok and Insta and use that discount code Sweet MMA. All right.
Right.
So
obviously we're here to talk about the card that happened in Paris. Blake has not gone mental. He's being all French because of the card that went down in Paris. And,
what a card.
What up, mate? There was some absolutely fantastic finishes, moments. The prelims were absolute bangers. Oh. And the joy of it was I was able to watch most of it live.
I watched it all live.
And I was really enjoying. Did you watch it all live?
Well, I missed the Gomez fight because I had to drive to work. And then when I got to work, I was watching it live. Well, I guess I should have been actually working, but I was just watching it. But yeah, I watched it all from the fight past prelims right the way through. So it was quite nice, and it delivered, absolutely delivered. I mean, I think when we get to where do you want to start with it? Do you want to start? Because I think the card got slowly worse when it got to the main card.
Yeah, I mean, there's higher stakes. There was maybe matchups that were a little bit more competitive, and sometimes when you get that, the fights don't always live up to it, or then they're not as exciting. You don't get those first round crazy finishes like what we had in a few fights. We're going to get onto obviously everything. I do think as much as there was some incredible British action on the card, there was some obviously sadder stories from British and Irish fighters on the card. But this whole card was who's going to fight Khamzat Chimaev? Is this fight going to give us the next contender for Khamzat Chimaev? You could argue that Imavov or Alio have already done enough to get a title shot, but as Dana White said, it's between the winner of this fight and the winner of RDR versus Fluffy that happens in Vancouver next month. Whoever puts on the best performance, they're probably getting the shot. So whether you like it or not, whether you think Imavov deserves it or not, he's not a nailed-on number one contender unless you felt like this performance did enough. And I suppose the big question is, Stu Whiffin, did this performance cement Imavov in your mind as Khamzat's first title defense?
Yeah, I think so. I thought he looked good. I thought Borralho looked a little... It felt to me that he took his time to kind of try and work him out. I thought like the crisper shots, and I thought Borralho looked tired, I thought, but I mean, he didn't stop pressuring, but I thought Imavov looked the stronger of the two. Did I think it was an exciting fight? Not especially. I think I'd been so excited at everything that had happened so far. This felt like a little bit of an anticlimax, really. I think was expecting something, a bit more aggression from Borralho, I hoped. And yeah, I don't know. It just didn't really deliver. But if I had to pick one, then I'd go with the winner. And I think that he looked the stronger of the two. Do I think either of them have got a chance of beating Chimaev? Nah.
So you've slightly confused me there about how you ended that answer, because obviously you're not going to pick Borralho, he's just lost. But the point is, for me, as much as meritocratically Imavov probably already deserves the shot, and I believe his next fight should be for the belt, has he done enough to fight Khamzat next? And I would say the answer is no.
Well,
I would say the answer is...
with the
but that's what I'm saying, is I feel like Vancouver, Renier de Ridder versus Fluffy Hernandez, if one of those guys gets a finish, I think that guy's getting the shot. And I think it's Imavov didn't do himself any favors. And it's really harsh of me to say, and it's difficult of me to say. There'll be people listening to this going, what are you talking about? He's knocked out Adesanya. He's on a win streak. He just took out Borralho, who hadn't lost in 10 years. And I go, yeah, I'll make you right. If I had the pen, I'd probably be making Imavov versus Chimaev next. But it's not me with the pen. It's Dana White, it's Hunter Campbell, it's Mick Maynard, it's all these guys. And the UFC likes highlights. They like finishes. And if you are Fluffy Hernandez or Renier de Ridder and you get a finish over the other guy, I think the UFC is going to pick you to fight Khamzat, because I don't think anyone is looking at that fight on Saturday and going, oh, Imavov will beat Chimaev. And I think that is an issue. Because if Renier de Ridder destroys Fluffy Hernandez inside 2 rounds, or Fluffy Hernandez does to Renier de Ridder what he did to Roman Dolidze, people start going, oh, that'd be an interesting fight against Chimaev. And you're not saying that with Imavov's performance. And that's not to say it wasn't a good performance. That's not to say that he wasn't impressive. He dominated the fight for me. I think I gave Borralho 1 round. But in a world where the UFC wants, big numbers, it wants a big fan interaction and social media hits and all these things, I'm just not convinced that Imavov has solidified himself as the next guy up. I think he's solidified himself as definitely getting a title shot next, but in his next fight, but not Khamzat's first defense. He might be Khamzat's second defense now. And that's where I am with it. Unless we get, a weird split decision in Fluffy versus RDR, or we get, some bad judging or something like that, then Imavov steps in. Or maybe Fluffy versus RDR becomes a bore fest. I don't think it will, but maybe it does, in which case you go Imavov. But
so do you think... Do you think the UFC are going to be looking for an exciting fighter out of these 2 fights to really sell the Chimaev fight? Because Chimaev's fight against Dricus was quite boring. And it wasn't an exciting fight. And if all we're going to do, because we saw a hell of a lot of striking from Borralho and Imavov, we didn't see a lot of ground game in that fight. And So are we going to be thinking, are the UFC going to think, well, look, do we find somebody that's really solid on the ground? Because otherwise it's just going to be a one-sided bore fest like what he done with Dricus.
I don't know. I don't know about that. I think in a lot of ways a Chimaev fight sells itself. I think that one dull fight with Dricus doesn't negate all the other exciting stuff he's done. So I think people will go, yeah, the Dricus fight wasn't great, but it's Chimaev. That won't happen again.
Yeah.
I think that stylistically, the winner of RDR Fluffy maybe has more of a chance against Chimaev than Nasruddin Imavov, because I think that Imavov, I just don't know that his ground game is as good. I still would favour Khamzat against any of them. But I just think the UFC is in the business of, what have you done recently? What's your situation with finishes? Because that's our highlight reel package that we're going to use to sell this fight. And yeah, I just think it's still up in the air. I don't think anything is nailed on. And that's not to say that Imavov still can't get the next shot. He can, but I just think they're not going to make the fight until after Fluffy RDR.
Yeah,
and I think
we spoke
if
about
Imavov knocked out Borrelio in the first 2 rounds, like he did to Adesanya, maybe they would have made the fight. Maybe they would have gone, yeah, do you know, regardless of what happens with Hernandez and Renier Derrida, this is the guy. Look at what he did. Yeah. Let's make the fight. And the winner of Fluffy RDR gets the next shot. But because the fight wasn't overly exciting, there was no finish, I think Imavov will have to potentially wait a long time for his title shot, because Khamzat's not that active a fighter. He was when he burst onto the scene. But over the last few years, we see Khamzat like once a year-ish. So hopefully Khamzat will be more active as a champion, but there's a big possibility that Khamzat fights the winner of Fluffy RDR if it's an exciting fight in the first quarter of next year, and then doesn't fight again until the last quarter of next year. And so Imavov sat on the sidelines for the best part of a year. That's also a possibility, which is a bit crap for him. In terms of Borrelio, first fight he's lost in 10 years. He didn't look himself. He didn't look great. I've overheard some people talking about the fact that he was the backup fighter for Chimaev DDP, which means he's cut weight twice in like a month. It's not great for you to do that. I remember Tony Ferguson doing that before he fought Justin Gaethje, and look at the state of that fight. So obviously it wasn't that bad. But I just wonder if he needs, obviously he needs to sort of start again. But maybe is a great fight, him versus Dricus du Plessis, because Dricus isn't getting a sniff of that title anytime soon. Borrelio now needs to rebuild, and Dricus would be a huge win. Do you do Dricus Borrelio next, or do you give Borrelio someone further down?
You could, yeah. I mean, you could give. I think DDP is a good fight. Otherwise, there's going to be another loser as well with the bloody hell. It's completely
Fluffy versus Renier Derrida. Yeah, that makes sense too.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a better fight, actually, because if DDP wins, then Borrelio is out of the equation completely, and DDP's not necessarily getting in that equation again anytime soon. Whereas if you did, say, Renier Derrida loses, if you did Renier Derrida versus Borrelio, the winner of that is then going, okay, come on, now give me a title shot, or give me one more fight, and then I've got a title shot. So maybe that's a better fight, actually. The loser of the fight in Vancouver is a better fight. Do you want to move on to the co-main?
Well, was co-main the one where I said Benoit Saint Denis is going to do something amazing in front of the French crowd and really stamp himself back on the scene? Oh, he done that, didn't he?
He did. I'm going to just gloss over the fact that I was looking for a Fighting Nerds double win.
Read that.
But yeah, the French crowd, man, they're crazy. Ooh. I love it. The French crowd are great, because there was even some prelim fights where you were like, I never even really heard of Umar Sy or C. And the crowd were going nuts for their man, for their French fighter. And yeah, all the French fighters had great performances. It was a really, really this is the thing. Like, it just adds something when you're not in the apex, when you're in these arenas that have a home crowd that is just known for being really noisy and really passionate. It comes through the TV. It's what you want, and it's exciting. Benoit Saint-Denis just was always in complete control of this fight. Rufi did nothing, and it was such a shame. It was like, yeah, what did you make of it? I was disappointed, if I'm honest, in Rufi. Obviously, BSD did what he needed to do.
I thought Rufi looked like he couldn't set himself. He couldn't get the space to do the fun, flamboyant stuff that we've seen him do. And I think there was so much forward pressure from Benoit and aggression that I think it just completely put him on the back foot, Rufi, and didn't let him have that sort of space to do what he does. I think that was pretty much the narrative for the fight for me.
Yeah, I mean, you don't come here necessarily for technical assessments and things like that. But I was thinking to myself, if you're Rufi, you should be feeling like the cage is electrified. Do not get your back near that cage. You have to stand your ground, or you have to push forward a little bit and push Benoit Saint-Denis backwards. Obviously, that's easier said than done. We know Benoit Saint-Denis is so tough. He's not the type of guy to get pushed back easily. But even if you're doing, like, I remember we mentioned it on this show, William Gomi, who fought on this card against Thomas Harilla. He was on the back foot all the time, but he was always circling, always keeping his back off the cage, always circling. And that's what you needed to do. You needed to be on your bike all the time, because as soon as his back hit the cage, Benoit was shooting for a takedown. And it should have just been, the cage is lava. Do not go to the cage. And he just always was inviting Benoit to shoot on him and take him down. And as much as I was disappointed, Benoit Saint-Denis did everything he needed to do. He was fantastic on the night. And this is why this was good matchmaking. Because now we've got a situation where we've seen a clear hole in Mauricio Rufi's game. You either give Rufi a striker next that's unranked, or you give Rufi a guy that has wrestling, but is nowhere near as good as Benoit Saint-Denis, and see if Rufi can improve and learn. Give him maybe 5-6 months of just go back to fighting nerds, train your wrestling relentlessly, get that takedown defense sorted, get the ability to pop back up to your feet a bit easier, and work on that just constantly, and then take a fight in 4 or 5 months' time, or 5-6 months' time, against a wrestler that's not as good as Benoit, but someone that will be shooting in on you. So you can test yourself again and see if you can move back up after that. With Benoit Saint-Denis, he's now 2-2 in his last 4. At one point, we were all like, this guy is carnage. He's so much fun to watch. He's a great brawler of a striker, takes us one to give one, and he's got good grappling. We were all kind of on the Benoit Saint-Denis bandwagon. Then he lost to Poirier, and we were like, look, man, there's no shame in that. You took on a guy like Poirier.
He was looking good as well in that fight.
He won that first round. And then he fought Moicano, and he was absolutely battered. And don't get me wrong, Moicano is a good fighter, but Moicano is not fighting for the belt again anytime soon. And Moicano's only fight for the belt was because Arman Sarukian pulled out on like 3 hours notice or whatever the hell it was. So, you know, Moicano was never legitimately going to be the number one contender for the belt. He sort of snuck in there through circumstance. So if you're losing to him in that devastating a fashion, it makes me really question whether you could ever get to the stage of title contender. But the fact that he's got 2 performances like that now, one against Prepelec, who came in on short notice and he did what he should have done, and one against Rufi, who clearly doesn't have the ground game that he needs to have to fight at the top of that division, it makes me go, okay, let's. I'm not jumping back on the bandwagon yet. I'm not, you know, crazy. I'm not like convinced he's going to be a title contender or anything like that. But I now want to see him take a step up again. I now want to see him go on then, mate. Let's see if you can go on a proper run now, get 2 more, and then you could be fighting for a belt. Let's see if you can take on a Mateus Gamrot or someone like that. And if you can beat Gamrot, then we know you're a legit guy in this division and you could be one away from a title shot.
Yeah.
Who do you want to see Benoit Saint Denis fight next?
Gamrot's a great shout, mate. Really good shout. Yeah.
I was kind of thinking it was Gamrot or Dariush, and for some reason I just leant towards Gamrot more. That's a tough fight, though.
Probably see some high-level grappling if he was to fight Dariush. I think that could be quite an interesting matchup. But I think
Michael Chandler would be the one that would be chaotic. That would be fun. Yeah. And I think Benoit would win that fight.
Yeah. Would Michael Chandler want to fight Benoit Saint Denis?
I don't know. I kind of think, is he just in a space where he's just got to take fights and he's fighting a ranked guy? It's a fun fight. I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe he would.
I mean, I never say no to watching Michael Chandler fight. It's always just going to be wild, isn't it?
I think Gamrot is the fight that to me would really make me go, is Benoit a potential title contender or not? That if he beats Gamrot, I'm like, I'm in. You're a potential title contender. If he doesn't, then I think you're more just top 10 going towards the top 5 maybe. Because I really rate Gamrot. I think Gamrot's very good. Paul Craig versus Modestas Bukauskas. I mean, brutal finish right at the end of the round with like a second to go. What John Gooden called a hellbow. Modestas just go on.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Paul going back up to light heavyweight. It was a tough one to watch because, you know, they're both former guests of the show. Like every time we've had any interaction with them, like obviously we spent quite a bit of time over the years with Paul Craig. He's such a nice guy, and same is for Modestas. And it was a strange matchup. I was watching a thing with Tom Aspinall this morning, and he was saying, you know, it was weird. He said, I was backing my teammate in Modestas, but you know, I've trained with Paul, and you know, and so it was a weird one. But I think if Paul Craig was going to put his gloves down, which we can obviously talk about in a moment, which he did, I'm glad it was against somebody where there's like mutual respect and like and the fact that it happened to another, if you want to call Modestas a British fighter. I'm happy it went that way. I always thought Modestas was going to finish him just because Paul's looked a little bit chinny in recent fights, and Modestas is a big boy, and he's sparring with the likes of Tom Aspinall and Alante, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. And I think we know that where Paul's dangerous, and it isn't necessarily on his feet, and I think Modestas was always going to ensure that fight stayed on its feet. And as soon as it didn't, look what he done. It was brutal. And I weren't sure if the fight got stopped or if the buzzer stopped the fight, and then it was like, oh no, he's out.
I felt like the elbow happened with like a second to go. The buzzer stopped the fight, but then obviously you looked at him and just went, oh no, we're done here. Yeah. We're done. Yeah. And it was the right call. Yeah. I mean, interesting that Paul Craig goes out on a fight where it was 1 second before the buzzer, and arguably his most impressive win was 1 second before the buzzer of the end of the whole fight against Magomed Ankalaev. Yeah. Look, Craig, let's stick to Modestas for a second. Modestas calls for a top 15 guy. You know, he's on a little win streak now. I think you could give him that. I'd like to see it. Light heavyweight isn't exactly a talent-stacked division. But I think you could give Modestas a top 15 guy and just see where he's at. I'm trying to think of the top 15. I should have really looked this up prior. Who in the top 15, I suppose, do we look at as a potential fight for Modestas? Well, I mean, look, Zhang Ming Yang has just fought, so probably not him. So you're looking at maybe, well, you could do Zhang Ming Yang, but I think maybe you've got Alonzo Menafield, you've got Nikita Krylov. Johnny Walker's probably looking above him. I think Azamat Mirzakhanov might have a fight booked. So maybe you're looking at Menafield or Krylov. I don't know if either of those guys have a fight booked right now. But I think either of those fights, give him a top 15 guy, and that makes absolute sense to me. Paul Craig. Now, he retired. We love Paul Craig on this show. Like, he has been someone we've interviewed a couple of times. I think he's a really nice guy, speaks really well. What do you think is Paul Craig's legacy, particularly as like a British fighter in the UFC?
Well, I think people will definitely remember him for having a ridiculously good ground game. His jiu-jitsu is second to none. And having wins over two champs, and there's not many people that have beaten Ankalaev, and Paul Craig's one of them. And the same can be said for God, my memory's shot today. I had a couple of beers yesterday. The other former guest of the show
Jamal
as well.
Hill.
Jamal Hill, of course. And I thought I think people remember him for that. And I love the face-offs. I love the ripping of the shirt. I love the war paint. I love that. And just a really, you never hear people say negative stuff about Paul Craig. It just seems like, from our experience of interaction with him, really, really nice guy. And just wish him all the best. I mean, I don't know if there's grounds to move into commentary and stuff like that. He's a good-looking boy. And
he's a good-looking man, as we've pointed out on this show before. I think he speaks well. I don't know if I think he'd have a great perspective and be able to really help out on commentary boxes with the jiu-jitsu side of things. I think that would be a real asset to a broadcast. My only concern is that an American viewing audience may not understand the Scottish accent as much.
Oh, more racism again, Blake. You've got to stop this, mate.
We do. I wonder if he'd be great for like UK MMA and stuff like that. But I don't know, because even if I remember there was a situation, wasn't it a thing? And I'm sorry if I've got this wrong. So I'll say the word allegedly, but wasn't it a thing? I thought this was true, that Cheryl Cole did like a season of like the American X Factor and had to be subtitled because they didn't understand her Geordie accent.
Oh, really?
That's in my head. I don't know if that's 100% true, but I think that's true. Right. And I wonder if, like, again, not a British audience, we'd be fine with it and we'd really appreciate it. And I think he'd do a really, really good job.
Yeah.
But I just... I don't know if the American audience would be able to understand it all or not.
Fantastic. Well, look, just a shout out to all of our Scottish listeners. Can you let us know what the Australian listeners have been up to as well for the last 4 weeks? Because Blake offended all of them, and now he's literally just written off Scotland as our listenership as well now. Great work, mate.
Write in and tell us if Americans understand you or not. That's what it is. But yeah, no, look, obviously Paul Craig, very emotional when he left the arena. I've always been a big fan of Paul Craig. I like fighters with a unique style, and he's certainly got that. Now, I am very glad he's retired, because I feel like the last few fights he's had, I have felt concern for him. He's been going into these fights against the likes of Johnny Walker or whoever else he's been fighting. I think Borralio was one of them. And I just feel like he's striking for the level doesn't really hold up, and he gets hit, and he's got a great chin on him, because we've seen him at times take big shots whilst on the ground, and he still locks up a great triangle. I think maybe Nikita Krylov was one of those. And he made a habit of people hitting him, knocking him down, and then he would take strikes from top position that would knock some people out. And somehow he just keeps going and goes, oh, now that you're throwing with reckless abandon, I can wrap up a triangle choke or an armbar or something like that. And he gets people. He's very, very unique in that sense. And when he gets you into his world, he is very, very impressive. And as you mentioned, incredible wins. To beat Magomed Ankalaev, I think Magomed is undefeated except for that fight. Paul
Correct.
Craig is the only man to beat Magomed Ankalaev. And then Jamal Hill as well, who's a former champion, to have snapped his arm. Like, it's such a crazy career and resume because he's got wins over these former champions and then losses against people that will probably never even fight for a belt. So he's got a unique career. I think he's been a real credit to Scotland, to British MMA, and I hope we can have him on the show again soon, and I wish him all the best for his retirement. But I do think it came at the right time. I don't think we needed any more. As much as we love Paul Craig, I don't think he was what he used to be. And I didn't want to see him back in the octagon necessarily because of that.
Right. This is the bit that I've been really excited to talk about. You mentioned Paul Craig's got a good chin. Mason fucking Jones has got an insane chin.
Oh my God.
I've not actually seen the bonuses. Tell me that got fight of the night.
I haven't looked it up, but I'll look it up for you now. I am pretty sure it must have done, but why don't you keep talking about the fight and what you loved about it? And I'll look
it
this
was
up.
just fantastic. Like Mason Jones, you know, getting a UFC contract, getting cut, going back to Cage Warriors, putting some, you know, some wins together, then coming back, and oh my God, like what a performance that night! Just, you know, getting dropped twice. I think he got dropped, didn't he, in the first? And it was brutal strikes, and how he got up and just shook them off. And yeah, I mean, they come out in the second round and just very high level judo, and then got the TKO, and just fantastic. Post fight interview was brilliant. Loved the fact that he said, you know, he said, "Oh, looked like you was hurt in the first round." He sort of said he slipped, and but yeah, I mean, we've had Mason on the show, and I always sort of say to people when they talk about, you know, fighters and you know what they think they're like outside of the cage, and you know, none of them ever said that, you know, they were sort of wild scrappers. Oh, maybe Bisping when he come on did when he was younger. Mason Jones, I thought, you know, I could tell he was anyway. You can just tell something about someone, and he was like, "Oh God, yeah, I was scrapping in pubs and God knows what." And to go from that to the kind of ups and downs of being in the UFC, out the UFC, back in the UFC, and now a win over Jeremy Stevens, and then that, just what a performance! Did it get fight of the night?
There was no fight of the night. According to Yahoo Sports, I'm looking at now, he did get a performance of the night, and rightfully so. Benoit Saint Denis got a performance of the night. Again, I think that's fair. Ante Delia, who we will talk about in a bit, who knocked out Ty Bora in a round, and Kai Fernandez, who I don't want to talk about too much because of what happened to poor Harry Hardwick. But those four were your performances of the night. Yeah,
you enjoyed this fight, right?
I loved this fight. It was absolutely fantastic. Mason Jones, as you say, he's clearly learning. He still obviously gets hit, but he's got such a great chin on him. Just keeps going. And Oki, I thought, probably looked all right as well, but just gassed out, man.
Yeah, he was a big boy, wasn't he?
He was a big square man. He was a square man. Great top game as well from Mason Jones. Once he got on top, he was brutal. He dropped like 2.5 million elbows in that second round. Great win for Mason Jones. Glad he got the bonus as well. 50 G's, baby. The next fight. Well, actually, do you know what? I want to pause. There's one fight that did not happen, and I think we should mention this. Patricio Pitbull versus Lucena Keita was cancelled because Keita missed weight by 3 pounds. And I just think to myself, look, you don't know what's gone on in camp. You don't know what's going on in his personal life. But you've had the opportunity of a lifetime here to come into the UFC.
Step over a lot of fighters to get
come into the UFC on your debut. And I know it's not his home country because I think he's from Belgium, But it's as local as a fight is going to possibly get for you. You are effectively the hometown boy, even though it is technically in a different country. But, you know, it's as close as a fight is going to get to home for you, for your people to come and watch, for your region of fans to support you. You are a 2-weight world champion coming over for your UFC debut. And you don't just get the 11th ranked guy in your division, which is incredible in itself. You get Patricio Pitbull, who is a huge, huge name in the world of MMA. The amounts of eyeballs that would have been on this fight would have been massive. And for you to miss weight by 3 pounds, it's just terrible. I don't know who's to blame, whether it's him, whether it's his team, whether it's some kind of circumstances that happened out of everyone's control. I don't know. But what an absolute shame, because there's no way they're rebooking that fight. There's no way Pitbull takes that fight. That is now, your opportunity is gone. You will be fighting an unranked guy that is tough, and good luck to you. And he may win, and he may get ranked in the top 15 in 3 fights. But you had the opportunity to hit the ground running, set the world on fire with your presence in the UFC, and you blew it by missing weight by 3 pounds, not half a pound, not 1 pound, 3 pounds. It just doesn't feel good enough. Like it's to have that opportunity and blow it so badly is a problem.
Yeah, and no one's going to know that better than him. And like you say, that was his golden opportunity presented to him, and that's been taken away now. And like you say, to then make your debut again, you ain't getting Pitbull, mate. You are, like you say, you're going to get someone unranked, and you are going to have to start from scratch. And it is a shame. I was watching the media face-offs, and I was just like, "Where's Pitbull?" And I was like, "Oh, okay, that's not happening then." Yeah, disappointing. Yeah, disappointing.
Very disappointing. Do you want to just pick out fights at random now, or do you want to finish off the main card?
I'd like to talk about Reece McKee.
Okay.
Because, again, former guest of the show, top gent. Great to see Paul Hughes in his corner. I know that when we spoke to Reece, he was massively championing Paul Hughes as the most talented fighter on the planet, in his opinion. I thought this was a really good fight. I thought second round, I thought Reece looked really good. Just a bruiser, just doesn't stop coming forward, and it just in a really exciting fight to watch. And I thought he was winning the third, and then it didn't finish the way that we wanted it to finish. And
what did you think of the stoppage?
I was talking to someone about this Saturday night. It was Herb as well, wasn't it? And look, he was on his knees, and obviously he was being struck, but he did look like he wasn't out. He looked like he was trying to get the leg. And I know when it happened, I shouted at the television no, because I thought it was too quick. I've watched it back, and now I don't know what else Reece could have done. Did you think it was early?
Yeah, I did. I thought it was a bad stoppage. That's not to say the result would have been any different. He took a mean body shot.
Yeah.
And I think he was 2-0. He was 2-0 down on the scorecards as well, I believe. I think so, yeah.
Oh, I thought he took a second.
So I don't think it would have changed much. Maybe he has been saved from taking unnecessary punishment. He had a bloody nose, I think, quite early on in the fight as well. But I do think it was an early stoppage. Yes, the body shot sent him down, but I don't think there wasn't a lot of unanswered strikes. Like, he got hit once or twice when he was down. And then he, as you say, he was grabbing the leg, and I thought it was a bad stoppage from Herb. I didn't like it. I did think it was early. Again, I'm not convinced that the result of the fight changes, but I just feel like, particularly fighters like Reece, like he's a he's a fighter that does get hit. He does come back. He has fights where he looks nearly not, a bit like Mason Jones' fight. He has
both
fights
been
where
cut
he
from
looks
the UFC and come back.
Yeah, so, you know, I don't know. I would have liked Herb to give him more time. I'm not up in arms about it or anything, but I do think it was an early stoppage, and I do think Reese should have been given more time to see if he could come back, because I think he's the type of fighter that can come back.
Yeah.
But as that said, though, is it Axel Sola? Upper weight class as well, but he looked big. I don't know how that guy makes lightweight normally. He was fighting at welterweight, and I was like, well, you belong here. He looked massive. So we'll see what he does in the future, Axel Sola. But yeah, I thought it was a shame for Reese McKee. William Gomi beat Robert Richala. I've not got a lot to say about that. He won the fight. Fine. I would like... Do you know what? We'll do it in order, but I do want to talk about the Brits on the card, one in particular. But Ante Delia had a phenomenal debut, knocking out 7th ranked Marcin Tybura. I mean, he hit him hard. He looked good. Tom Aspinall in the crowd looked emotional as his training partner.
I watched Tom's blog on it this morning, and him and his dad were very, very emotional about it. He was saying he's like... I think Ante's moved to Wigan. I think he's literally relocated with the fam to train at that level. And yeah, it was a good night for Tom's stablemates, wasn't it?
It was. Tom, I'd say looked emotional, looked good. Ante Delia, that kind of performance, getting into the top 7 on your debut with a first round knockout of someone that is good in Marcin Tybura. That should be... Oh, yes, that's exactly what the heavyweight division needs. This injection of new blood, fresh talent to the promotion. That's what we need. But he's never going to fight Tom. So what's the bloody point?
Will he, though? I mean, I don't know.
When they respond like that, I don't think Tom and him will ever fight. So I'm like, what happens if Ante Delia fights, say, Curtis Blades next and beats him? Then you could give Delia a title shot. But they're not going to do it. So we need heavyweights that Tom can fight. Ante Delia looked great. But if him and Tom don't fight because they're mates, then what is the bloody point? It's like the heavyweight top 15 is just going to be people Tom's beaten and people Tom trains with. That's who the top 15 is going to be. And it's great for Tom in some ways, and it's great for Ante Delia, and it's great for them to have this great training thing. It's lovely. But as fans, the problem is we're not excited about who Tom's going to fight because he's either beaten them already or we don't think they have the skill set to cause him any problems. If you've got a heavyweight that comes in and gets 2 or 3 first-round knockouts, you want to see him fight the champ, not go, oh, well, I'm mates with Tom, we train, so not going to fight him. And
money talks, Blake. Money talks.
I don't blame Ante Delia and I don't blame Tom Aspinall. They are doing what's right by them and for their team and for the gym and all that. I'm not blaming them. But the UFC needs to bring in some talent into the heavyweight division that don't train in Wigan.
Yeah.
That's what they need.
He looked great. He looked so dangerous.
He did.
Very, very exciting prospect there.
Right, do you want the good news or the bad news? What are we doing, the light or the shade?
Let's just get the sad bit out of the way.
Let's get the sad bit out of the way. Poor old Harry Hardwick, 4 days notice, upper weight class, taking on Kai Fernandez, who is, already before this fight, I think a 3-fight UFC veteran. So this was his 4th UFC fight. The deck was stacked against Harry Hardwick. But even with that said, it was one of those performances where your heart sunk a little bit because he didn't really get to show much of himself, did he?
The crowd were cheering, even if Harry managed to land one little shot. That you could tell that everybody just wanted Harry to do well. I know, obviously, the French crowd were never going to back the Brazilian. And it was great that Harry did make his walkout to the French crowd going mad for him, which was brilliant. It was great to hear everybody cheering for Harry. I really hope I mean, look, Fernandez's leg kicks, them calf kicks were incredible. Like, let's credit him with what he done, because he looked. Yeah, I mean that was a big warning sent out to other opponents that's what this guy can do to people's legs very, very quickly. And as we know, Harry Hardwick, he's no stranger to adversity in the octagon, and he'll come, he'll battle through it. But it was just horrible to watch. It was like watching when Aldo just smashed up Faber. Just really ridiculously brutal leg kicks. But I hope that the UFC would have seen the response from the UK to the announcement that Harry Hardwick's getting a shot in the UFC, and how much love and excitement there was for that, and give him another chance. Give him another chance. Like, let him showcase what he can do and put on some really, really fun scraps. And he's in the right weight division with a full camp. I hope the UFC kind of give him that opportunity.
Yeah, I completely agree. Just, it was a sad thing that Bisping reckons he was wheelchaired out of there and stuff like that. Hopefully, he's not too badly. I mean, obviously his calves will be hurt, but he's not too injured, and he does get another crack in the UFC, maybe the early start of next year or something, at full camp in his natural weight class. And hopefully we get to see what Harry Hardwick can really do. Let's move on to the happier part of the UK MMA scene that happened on the prelims, and that's Sam Patterson. Because he, again, first round KO finish.
He's liking these first round finishes.
He really is. I got a really funny message from a lad on Instagram. Let me just pull it up. I say really funny. It made me chuckle just because he watched it. Just asking me, where's Trey Anderson? Just shout out.
You'd have to listen to last week's show for that to make sense. Shout
out _Louis_Pepper for where is Trey Anderson? God knows. Don't know where he is. But Trey Waters got knocked out. Sam Patterson, 4 first round KO finishes. And Waters was knocked out on his feet. That was a great stoppage from the ref. Because Waters didn't go down. He was, clearly not present, though, and he was not intelligently defending himself. He was just walking, and his brain was just telling him to move when he wasn't even present. And Sam Patterson could have landed more blows, and the ref stepped in and was like, no, this is done. Great stoppage from the ref. And Sam Patterson calls out Neil Magny. That's a big step up.
I'm not mad
at it. It's a huge step up, though, from, the guys he's been beating. But he's been beating these guys so easily, first round finishes, that you've got to give him a step up. I would like to see it. I don't know if is Magny currently ranked? Let's find out where Magny is. Neil Magny is not ranked at the moment. So if he wanted a ranked opponent, he's not got it. But Neil Magny, I think, is a really good fight. Because if he beats Neil Magny, then the next fight has to be a ranked opponent.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'd like to see. So fight Neil Magny then. And then after that, you've got, the Jeff Neals, Daniel Rodriguez's, Gabriel Bonfim, Kevin Holland's. They're all in that kind of 12 to 15 range.
Kevin Holland, that's a good fight, Kevin Holland. I'd like that.
Yeah. I think it's too early for that right now. I think maybe Magny is a good call out, because Magny has, like Liam Neeson in Taken, he has a particular set of skills, and it is holding you up against the fence a lot, not going away, even though he's been beaten up a bit sometimes, like that Mike Malott fight. He's a dangerous guy, Magny. So I think Sam Patterson fighting him is a good call out. So yeah, I'd like to see it, and just credit to Sam. What a run. Going into UFC on his debut, and if this doesn't give Harry Hardwick, food for thought or inspiration, I don't know what will. Because Sam Patterson went in at lightweight against Ashmoos, wasn't it? And got knocked out badly, and then he took some time, moved up to welterweight, Since then, he's been on 4-fight first round KO finish. Oh, well, not KO, finish streak. First round finish streak. And yeah, I just want to see good things happening for Sam Patterson as well. So those were the two Brits on the prelims. Anything else to discuss? Obviously, Fakhretdinov destroyed Gustafsson in a round. Sam Hughes dominated.
That was a great fight. That was a
fun fight, wasn't it?
Gustafsson looked like an action figure. And oh my God, like Renato looked absolutely fantastic. And he's on a bit of a tear now, isn't he?
He is, yeah. He's looking good. Renato Fakhretdinov is looking very, very good. I don't know what his win streak is, but it must be up there now. He's doing well. He's probably looking at potentially getting a ranked opponent soon.
I think so.
Sam Hughes dominated Sean O'Bannon, though. Sean O'Bannon didn't have much for Sam Hughes. Sam Hughes got the rear naked choke stoppage in round 2.
I thought Sam Hughes looked really good.
Yeah, she did. But yeah, so yeah, not a great night for the Irish fighters. Overall, a good night, I think, for the British fighters. But, you know, some sadder moments in there, obviously Paul Craig being one and Harry Hardwick being the other. But great work from Mason Jones, Modestas Bukauskas and Sam Patterson. That's it for the Paris card. Shall we briefly touch on this weekend's UFC Noche card?
Yeah, go for it.
The main event is, like, there's only 2 fights of note on this card for me. It was supposed to be Rob Font versus, what's his name?
Martinez.
Raul Rosas Jr.
Oh, right.
It was supposed to be Raul Rosas Jr. versus Rob Font. That fight fell through. So now Rob Font's facing, is it Martinez or something like that?
Yeah, David Martinez, yeah.
That doesn't do a huge amount for me. It might be a good fight, but less at stake without Raul Rosas Jr. in there, I think. But the main event is a banger. Diego Lopez versus Jan Silva. Now, it could be a terrible 8 days for the fighting nerds. With Jan Silva being the third one to compete in that time. Obviously, Rufi's lost. Borrellio's lost. Jan Silva fights Diego Lopez. A lot of people are saying Silva's going to be the favourite in this fight, but Diego Lopez is great. He'll have a big reach advantage. We know he hits hard. We know he's got great jiu-jitsu. Jan Silva, though, has been destroying, just absolutely burning his way through that featherweight division. Has looked fantastic. I think this is going to be a really great fight. I doubt it goes the distance. I know whenever you say that, there's likelihood is it will go the distance. But I think someone's getting finished here. And I do wonder if Diego Lopez is the one that's going to get finished. How do you see it going?
No, I've got Lopez in this.
You got Lopez. Well, look, the way you called this week's the Paris card means that, you know, Lopez will probably win this one then. But I'm going Jan Silva. I think Jan Silva he's just looked so good. If Jan Silva wins, he could be booking himself a title shot too. I don't think he can leap over Lerone. Lerone is next as far as I'm concerned. But Jan Silva either has to fight Mobzar in a number 1 contender fight after that, which feels harsh on Mobzar, but that's where we're at. Or Jan Silva maybe does just get a title shot. But yeah, Jan Silva, with all the finishes he's had, he's the type of fighter the UFC really loves, really gets behind. If he were to finish Lopez, I think he's getting a title shot. If Lopez finishes or beats Jan Silva, I think Lopez has more to do. Maybe you rebook the fight between Lopez and Mobzar, because Lopez came on short notice on his debut, fought Mobzar to one of Mobzar's toughest fights, lost. But maybe now that's the time that you do a rematch there. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a banger of a fight.
Yeah. Yeah. Gaslam's on that card as well. And
the only other
Tatiana.
fight.
Oh, go on. Sorry.
Well, that's what I was going to say. The only other fight of note on that card for me is Tatiana Suarez versus Amanda Lemos, because both of them are very highly ranked strawweights. And, you know, Suarez was the last person to fight for the belt. And now we're going to get a brand new champion. Zhang has vacated. She's moved up. We've got Virna Jandiroba versus Mackenzie Dern. If Suarez wins this fight, I think she is the first title defense for one of those women. that will fight each other. When is that? Is it 322?
Yep.
Is this the Aspinall card, right? The Aspinall v Garn card. I think that's right. Yeah, I don't know if that's maybe 320. I can't remember. But that co-main event, when we crown a new champion, I think their first title defense could be against Suarez if Suarez wins. If Lemos wins, I'm not sure because she's got a few defeats to, is it Jandiroba? So I'm not sure. But we'll have to see how that goes. But that is a fight definitely of note. We could be watching a number one contender fight there. Other than that, I don't think it's a great UFC no-che card.
No.
There's not loads that I'm excited about with it.
And it feels strange that the Suarez fight's like so far down on the prelims as well. You'd think that'd be...
That should be a co-main event.
Yeah, odd. Very odd. Well, look, we'll be back next week. I'm sure we'll discuss some of the action that's gone down, as well as bringing you up to speed with all the week's news in the UFC. And hopefully we'll try and reach out to Mason or to Paul or to Modestus or to Sam and try and get them on and get their thoughts on what's gone down at the weekend and have a nice catch-up episode with some former guests. That'd be nice.
Yes, it would. Right. Well, thanks very much for listening, guys. And we will see you next time.
Bye.
Au revoir.